Thursday. The week is just going so fast. I feel like it was just last week. I was like, we're going live. And then here we are.
Going
We're back
live.
at it again. Yep. So, if it's your first time tuning in, I'm Alfyn. I'm your local real estate professional here in Reno and Sparks. And we have Jeremiah. Jeremiah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Jeremiah Eck. I'm a loan officer with Guild Mortgage in Reno Sparks as well.
Yay. Okay. So, what we typically do when we come on here, we want to just provide market update, kind of what it's looking like right now with buyers, how are rates doing. And that way, Jeremiah can definitely update us on what's been happening.
Yeah, the market is a little bit crazy, right? Rates have been bouncing around pretty volatilely. It's not really a word, but they've been volatile because of just what's happening, right? Like the Strait of Hormuz, gas is like 27, $35 a gallon these days,
Mm-hmm.
and inflation is creeping back up because of the cost of oil. Because I don't think people realize that oil goes into like almost everything. Like it goes into like plastics, it goes into production of food, it goes into transport, it goes into making so many different pieces of the things that we use on a daily basis. And without it, or people blockading it, causes the price to go up, which is causing everything else to go up.
That's so crazy. So, I feel like, people are definitely a little bit scared. Are you feeling that way too? Like, are
Yeah,
you getting
people
a
are a little
lot of
nervous.
pushback?
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
you said volatile. Like, is it like what are the numbers like?
Yeah, I would say like since the start of the war in Iran, interest rates have gone up by almost about 1% from where they were, 4 or 5 weeks ago or so. And that is a significant jump, in terms of a payment that adds to your payment, in terms of life on the interest on the loan, everything that all adds up. And so a lot of people get nervous of like, can I afford the home? Like what's the rate going to be? Like what's my
Mhm.
payment going to be? Like all these things. And so when we look at relativity, in terms of like where things were, 3 years ago to where they are now, in 2023, rates were sitting higher than they are now, right? Like 7.5% or so, maybe even like in that low eight. And then now we're looking at not super crazy in comparison,
Yeah.
much lower, but still in the mid to higher sixes, maybe even around 7%. And people are just, this is not, ideal, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't afford it. And the
Mhm.
volatility piece goes into like, are you comfortable with your numbers now? Because they will be different in the future, whether that's better or for worse.
Absolutely. And like we've always said before, you can always just refinance later. I feel like social media or like even the headlines are definitely making the market sound crazy
Yes.
sometimes. So, are you getting you we mentioned about a little bit of pushback, but are you still getting a lot of deals that are following through?
Well, I mean, not necessarily because of like the cost, because in terms of how we work things up, everyone knows exactly what's going on. They know what the rates are, they know what the payment's going to be, they know what their closing cost and cash to close is. What
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing more fallout on is reminiscent of like 22, 23, 24, when people were saying, okay, I'm okay with paying like a higher rate and a higher payment, but I don't want to do that if my home is not the home that I want, right? So like if people
Yeah.
are, getting into contract, what I've been seeing on fallout on our side is just basically because of inspections. Like the roof needs to be replaced. We had one recently where the house was entirely Tech plumbing. We had one where the sewer line needed to be replaced completely. So like those are the kinds of things we're running into is like, okay, we got over the hump of the numbers. Okay, like we're gonna stomach the payment, but now I want a house that I actually like and don't want to have to put in more money down the road for. And I think that's interesting, right? Because when you go back to lower rates, 5.5% or so, people are okay with having a little bit of repairs that they
Yeah.
need versus a 7% interest rate and repairs. So that's what I start to see on our side.
That is true. And then for your side, are you getting sellers to provide seller credits?
Not as much. I don't know about you, but lately, because of the higher rates, and then also, I mean, home prices are always changing, right? A lot of people are not offering the seller credit, or we're getting pushback on it. Like maybe I
Mm,
want like a slightly higher price. And if you think of a seller's position, right? If they're selling their home to move into a new home and interest rates just went up, right? And then they're saying, well, now this person wants, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 grand from me. I don't want to give that now because I have to pay a higher rate. And so I think it just, the rate really dictates in terms of how I see the market go.
that is true. I've definitely seen a shift, yeah, I've lost offers due to seller credit as well. And there's sometimes where the buyer needs it, right?
Yeah, that's like not optional.
Yeah, like they need it, or else it's
Yeah.
a no go. So that's, I feel like, the struggle right now with my current pool of buyers at the moment. So, what price range do you think you're seeing move faster in this market?
I'm starting to see, I feel like any price in like the 250 to like 450, 500 range is moving pretty fast. What do you think?
You're right. Yeah, I feel like in the sixes or so are kind of maybe sitting a little bit.
Yeah,
So I feel like, because I talked to some first time home buyers, it's a little hard
there
when
is.
we're working with some first time home buyers at the moment, right? Due to the credits and stuff like that. So are you seeing the same?
Yeah, I mean, you have to think, right? Like, there's been a lot of reports that have come out about the middle class,
Mm.
and people. There's one report just came out about food and people skipping meals. Like, there's like a whole thing that they did a survey on, where they've discovered that more and more people in the middle class, depending on what the income was, I don't remember, are skipping meals because of food costs. So, like, families are literally saying, like, no, we're not going to have lunch today. We're going to have breakfast and dinner because, like, a tomato is $27 at the local Rayleigh's. So I think it's a tough market, right? Because people have high gas prices, high food prices. Insurance is so expensive these days for homes, right? So I feel like everyone's getting hit from all these different angles. And I feel like it's hard to kind of navigate that space as a buyer right now. And so all that to say, people have high credit card debt, they have high auto loans, they have
Mm.
high interest personal loans. And so they're kind of struggling overall, I would say, and I think that's adding to lower credit scores.
I agree. I agree. And everything's just so expensive. We haven't even mentioned gas prices. That's crazy. I went to South Reno and I believe it was a Shell. It was $7. I was
That's
like, what?
crazy.
If only I could have driven like 20 minutes or 10 minutes even, I could have gotten a little bit better rate. But wow.
Yeah,
But no,
there's
I was
a
really on empty. So I was like, oh, I got to, or else I will not move. So
Yeah, there's a
I
fun app if you ever need it for anyone on here. It's called Gas Buddy, and
gas.
it'll tell you all of the prices of gas in the area that you're looking in. I don't have a gas vehicle, and I haven't been to, a gas station since 2024. But I've heard that it's really hard in the streets uh, with the gas
It
prices.
is. This is why realtors definitely have Teslas. I
Yeah.
feel it. I feel it now. I'm like, wow, because of gas prices, and we're everywhere. We're driving from Fernley to Silver Springs to Carson to Reno, like for showings, or Cold Springs down to, showings can be from like Cold Springs to Wingfield to Spanish Springs. It's crazy.
You might as well just take your money, light it on fire, and put it in the gas tank.
Yeah, so it's like for a lot of buyer agents, I'm like, wow, it's a lot of driving, especially when
Yeah.
you're on your showing days. And I'm like, oh, It's
Yeah, you
crazy,
may. I mean, maybe a buyer's agent should start charging the buyers for gas. Like, if we're gonna drive
right?
out here, like
And then people think we,
$10.
realtors or agents get paid too much. I'm like, I don't know
No.
about that. Yeah, they don't see the behind the scenes of months and months of like working for no cost.
Yeah, literally, right? Like it's a lot of effort. But all that to say, yeah, I mean, if you are in the market, you're looking to buy, you're looking to sell, just run your numbers as they are now. They may or may not be what you want. And if they are affordable in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like, you have to move because of a job or family size or divorce or marriage or whatever it is, right? Like if the numbers work today, just lock it in, move forward, finalize it, and call it a day. And then in the future, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, theoretically, rates should be lower. There's a very, very, very good chance that the economy is going to go into a recession. And if it does, interest rates come down, which is good, right? Because then people are trying to stimulate the economy, which means you'd be able to refinance.
There you go. Yeah. So, what is something that buyers think that they need, but they actually don't?
You don't need good credit. You don't need a down payment, and you don't need even necessarily to be a US citizen. So, a lot of people are talking about FHA loans, and they're very strict on how you qualify. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're a DACA person, or if you have a permanent resident, or if you have a visa of some sort, there are loans out there that you can qualify for. And also, too, if you're on the other side of that and you're like an investor, or if you're trying to do fix and flips, or if you're trying to do, like a bank statement loan because your taxes don't work for your business, like there's so many options that we can look at. And I wouldn't believe everything you see on the interwebs.
I agree. I agree. So definitely for people that, because I posted something, median prices of the area, and people are like a little shocked, but at the same time, some of the people that have been curious, I feel like have been curious for a little while, but as you can see, prices just keeps moving to the upward position. So the more we wait, the more prices goes up, and like you said, it's if you're okay with your payment and the rate, just go ahead and do now. And I feel like a lot of people are still stuck in that mentality of I need a certain amount, I need 20% or so in order for it to even buy, because by that time, like, you might not be able to afford
No.
that monthly payment, because prices have jumped maybe 30, 40K, depending on your location property. But ye, yeah, I feel like people are getting discouraged even more the longer they wait.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have the mindset of saving 20% to buy a house, it's a really poor mindset, because if you put the numbers out in front of us, right? 400,000, 20% down is 80 grand. Like, not a lot of people have $80,000 just sitting in a bank account ready to deploy into a home, right? Versus, if we look at a 3% down payment, that's only $12,000. That is a lot less by 68 grand than 80. And
Yeah,
so if we look at that, right? And let's say your payment changes by $150 a month, right? Like the question then is like, are you going to spend $68,000 to save 150 bucks? Like, no.
exactly.
No.
So everything, is definitely education, education, education. Ask the questions. If you are able to get that knowledge now, it definitely puts you in a way better spot for later, and will be able to guide you, depending what your goals are. And then another thing, Jeremiah, I feel like I've been getting a little bit of some VA questions. Maybe those are some things that we can tackle for next week.
Yeah.
That way, for anyone that you have family, friends that are, and that's a veteran, they'll be able to really utilize their VA loan.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, and VA is becoming a little bit. I mean, VA is always a great loan, but I feel like lately I've had more VA conversations as well. And so, just a couple little things. So, like a VA loan only needs a 580 credit score for 100% financing, 0% down. If you want top tier, just get to a 620. So anything above a 620 is going to be the best. So if you had an 850, it's the same as a 620 on a VA loan. And then also too, you can have multiple VA loans. I just had a client tell me that their previous lender was forcing them potentially to refinance their VA loan to buy another VA loan house, right? Like you don't need to do that. You can definitely have two. I have one person that has four. So like it just depends. Like you can have multiple VAs and you don't have to have perfect credit for them. So just remember that.
Perfect. I'm gonna promote it for next live. I'm like, we're gonna talk about
Beautiful.
VAs, so tune in. Tag your cousin, mom, dad, whoever, and
Whoever.
we're gonna be dropping some information because I feel like I've been getting some questions about VA, what makes it so special, and stuff like that. So next week
Love
that
it.
would be our topic of choice. Yay!
All right, guys.
All right. Well, if you guys have any questions or if you're tuning this later, just go ahead and drop in the comments any questions that you may have. Other than that, we'll see you guys next week.
Okay, see you then.
Bye.